Hi guys, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm here with my final review for Before the 90 Days. This is Season 4, Episode 5, Our Lips Are Sealed. And today I'm going to be talking about David and Lana and Geoffrey and Varya. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, etc, etc. And I want to give a massive thank you to all of those who have already subscribed and everyone who has already commented on my channel. I really do appreciate you guys. And you know what? You guys are keeping me sane over this really difficult time. So thank you so much. So let's get straight into it. First up, we're going to talk about David and Lana. So every day we learn something new. And today I learned that I have a modicum of admiration for somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tightwad in our midst. He goes by the name of David. And so we first see David in a jeweller's and he's looking around at all the diamond rings. And David explains to the jeweller that he's going to propose to his girlfriend, Lana. And the jeweller says, tell me about her. And he says she's blonde and she's got small hands. What he forgot to say is that she's also got giant pockets. Although unfortunately, I've yet to meet her. And the jeweller looks slightly quizzical and he explains that he's spent thousands and thousands of hours chatting to her online. But nevertheless, the jeweller's still rubbing his hands and he no doubt was watching Before the 90 Days previously. And he saw how much Michael spent on Juliana at the jeweller's. And he's fixing to have a great day. But the jeweller was a little shady because I noticed when David said, I've never met my girlfriend, he offered a look which said, you goddamn fool. But then he followed it right up with, have you done your homework on diamond shopping? And it's in the next 2 to 3 minute period that I developed a temporary soupçon of respect for David. Because he said, I want something a little cheaper than a diamond. I want a cubic zirconia. Honestly, he sucker punched that smile off the jeweller's face, let me tell you. And so for anybody that doesn't know, a cubic zirconia is a fake diamond. So I think it's better than glass. I think it shines a lot. But if I'm not very much mistaken, it shines in strange colours. I think it shines in like yellows and pinks and I don't know, colours that I think a diamond doesn't shine in. Anybody that's into their stones and their jewellery, pipe up in my comments and let me know. But I just want to take a moment so that we can all savour this. David, you've gone up slightly in my estimation, which was not that difficult to suppose because there was no further down to go. But I like the fact that you're not splashing out on a diamond because as we all know, you buy a diamond today, she says no tomorrow, you take it back the day after, and it's worth 50% of the value, if that. But why I really liked it was the smarmy jeweller. I don't know why, but I just didn't like the look on his face when he came in. And so imagine the scenario. The Discovery Channel call you, TLC, and they tell you they want to do a production in your store. They make you sign waivers and forms, and they tell you of all the great opportunities you're going to have once you've been featured on 90 Day Fiance. They bring in the cameras, they bring in the lights, they bring in those sound things, booms, I think. They dab a little bit of foundation on your face and do your hair. They make sure you're camera ready. Camera, lights, action! I'd like to get a cubic zirconia. David, you're a star. Oh, David, with Mrs. Rona around at the moment, we need laughs like this. And David tells us he's been engaged twice before, but it's never quite worked out. David, maybe fourth time will be a charm. You never know. And the next time we see him is packing his suitcase to go to the airport. And his friend comes to take him. And as they're chatting in the car, his friend brings up some of the times that Lana has decided not to turn up for David. But David ignores this in entirety. And he tells his friend about the activities they have planned. Blind man's bluff, followed by hide and seek, no doubt. His friend's very worried. But David's irrationally and naively optimistic. Oh, David, even if she meets you, she's looking to rinse you. And the next time we see David, he's arriving in the Ukraine. He tells us he's travelled for 22 hours and he's in Odessa. Unfortunately, Lana can't meet him at the airport because she has to get a 10-hour overnight train. What? So this guy's going to spend God knows how much on a ticket and travel on a plane for 22 hours and you couldn't have got the train the day before. You could have just stayed in a hotel if the trains didn't marry up with the times that David was getting in. And this is the first indication that Lana has absolutely no respect for David. Real talk, the only reason that she's meeting him is because they've got to actually have photographs so that he can apply for her visa, so that the American authorities absolutely know that they've at least met before. I'm surprised neither one of you thought about Photoshop. Then you wouldn't have to meet at all. So instead of meeting Lana, he meets Anya. And I actually like Anya a lot better. You remember her? She was the Ukrainian we met last week, the one who grassed Lana up for being a tea leaf. Well, she's worried for David. Don't be. He's only bought her a cubic zirconia. And David tells her once again that it's his destiny and he bids her farewell. So what do we take from all of this? Well, I'm glad that David's cheap. And you know the Ebird, she never likes a cheap man. But in David, I applaud it at this point. He should give Lana the ring, not tell her it's fake, and see if she goes to have it valued. I bet she does, and I bet she does it immediately. Do we feel sorry for Lana? Not really, because if you hadn't robbed him blind for 10 years, you'd probably have a diamond, and just maybe a house to live in rather than a caravan. Just saying. And so that's all for David and Lana this week. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Geoffrey and Varya. So Geoffrey and Varya wake up at Varya's squat, and Geoffrey's moaning that there are no curtains and that sunlight came in and he had to sleep on the couch. He said he slept horribly last night, not just because of the prison-like conditions, but he feels he's being used. And Geoffrey tells us he feels that he's the reason that her house isn't finished, and he says that he's an opportunity to get to America. And so in a desperate bid to calm him down, Varya decides to take Geoffrey to nature. And so she's going to take him to a big wildlife park for a walk around, and she says it's everything you like. Yes, Varya, it is, and it's everything you hate. And she tells us that she wants him to relax before he meets her friends tonight. Oh dear, oh dear. And when they get to the big park, it looks really nice, and they walk around, and Geoffrey says he loves the place, but his arms are folded. Insightful as ever, Varya asks, does this mean you're closed? And Geoffrey looks at her and says, from the very moment that you started talking to me, you started planning to go to America. And at this point, I just think, Geoffrey, stop being so mistrustful and stop being so paranoid. Varya started planning to go to America long before she met you. You're just the latest spoke in her wheel. But Varya's trying to defend herself, and she says, no, you've got it all wrong. I said it's a big opportunity to come to America and also meeting you. And Geoffrey didn't miss a trick. He said, did you see the order you said it in? You said America and then me. And then Varya tries to double talk him, and she said, we're just both trying to find our soulmates. It's not my fault that you're American. Varya, it is your fault because you hit him up knowing exactly where he was living because he was American. And she says, I just want you to trust me. He doesn't, and neither do we, Varya. And later on that evening, they decide to go for a meal with her friends. And when I say decide, Varya decided to go for a meal with her friends. She dragged a reluctant Geoffrey along, and you can tell by the look on his face, he really didn't want to be there. And there were about 6 people at this table, and it was quite an intimidating group, I've got to admit, because all focus was on Geoffrey. And Varya tells production that she's very nervous about this meeting, and she said, my friends don't like him because I met him online. And then the friends tell production that they think all Americans are fake and their smiles are a facade. And I say to these Russians, when you've got an open and free media, then make your assessments. Until such a time, don't bother. And when they sit down, the questioning starts immediately. And they ask, tell me what you do. And he said, I've got a few rental houses. Tell us about your past relationship. And he said, I've had lots of past relationships, but they were not really that serious. Geoffrey, not that serious. You've been married not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times. How can you possibly say they were not serious? You've had children as a product of at least 2 of them. And then he continues, my last serious relationship was with my ex. Oh, Geoffrey, finally we've got something in common. The Ebird's last serious relationship was with her ex too. Also, my last day was yesterday. What was your last day? Yesterday too. Oh my god. Geoffrey really is no good at being slick. No good at all. And Varya's friends ask her, oh, will Varya be another non-serious relationship then? And Geoffrey said, I don't like to talk about my past, and I don't ask Varya about hers. And the friends quite rightly say, well, the past defines us, and I've long been a proponent of this, and I've told you guys on my channel before, I believe the best indicator of future behaviour is past behaviour. Of course people can change, but usually they only change a tiny bit, and quite often they revert to whatever they were in the first instance after a while. And then Geoffrey tries to double speak again, and he says, it's not about secrets, it's about us growing as a couple. Geoffrey, whatever are you talking about? Just saying words doesn't mean that we'll forget what we're trying to say, i.e. you won't tell us anything about your past, therefore you've got something to hide, therefore I do not want my friend going out with you. But then the friends turn their sights to Varya, and they say, have you told Geoffrey the full truth about you? And she said, yeah, and she tried to brush it all under the carpet, but they kept on talking and saying, Americano, American guy, in Russian. And really what they were saying is, what about all the other American guys you've been speaking to? And Geoffrey said, what are they saying? saying, and he could obviously hear the word American coming up, and she said, oh, nothing serious. But then one of her friends said she was talking to other American guys, and Varya finally had to come clean. And she said, yeah, I was talking to somebody, but it was no big deal. I didn't take it any further. And Geoffrey was absolutely apoplectic with rage. He looked at Varya and he said, you straight up lied to me. And she said, it's no big deal. I didn't see the point of telling you. And Geoffrey's temper came out immediately. He stood up and he pointed aggressively in her face. And he was aggressive enough that the other guy at the table actually stood up and was like, Geoffrey, calm down, calm down. And I think Varya's friends were thinking, point proven. You don't know anything about this guy or his character. And then Geoffrey shouted, this is bullshit. And he stormed out. And as he was leaving, he said, she just wants a visa. I'm failing myself. I should have been smarter than this. And that's where we leave these guys this week. And so what do we take from all this? Well, to start off with, even when we saw her friends previously, her friends were like, you're going to America, and they seemed somewhat slightly jealous. And I thought, are these friends or are these frenemies? It seems like they don't want the best for Varya. But I've now come to the conclusion that they wanted to, in some ways, poke the bear and see what Geoffrey was made of, and they saw he's a ball of rage and fire and gunpowder just waiting to explode. And I also think that they wanted to just let out what Varya had been up to, so they could maybe put him in the picture. And I think in a way they did want to slightly ruin the relationship for Varya, but only because they have their doubts about this guy. So I'm not quite sure if they were haters or if they just thought, let's get everything out in the open. But one thing's for sure, Geoffrey showed his true colours. You can tell that he cannot contain his anger properly, and what's unbelievable to me is he knows that he is sitting on a mountain of unbelievable lies. So lie number one, he didn't even tell her that he had kids, and he said he thought it wasn't relevant. Really? When are children ever not relevant? Don't be ridiculous, Geoffrey. And the obvious number two, he's been in prison for dealing drugs. Number three, he's also been in prison and caught numerous times for domestic violence and for battery, and he still has court cases which are upcoming, but yet he still sees fit to be really angry and really upset because Varya has been talking to another guy prior to him and not told him about it, and he thinks that's a reason for him to be absolutely really angry. Geoffrey, you were looking for a foreign love. Obviously, it's an international dating site, and she was obviously looking for an American, and you know very well that she hit you up, so she knew what she was looking for. Let's be real about online dating. You put in a criteria and you attempt to get out the criteria that you put in. So if you put in for an American and you hit up an American, obviously you want to go to America. Geoffrey, if you entertain a foreigner, obviously you want to try a Russian woman or whatever it might be. We don't just stumble across these things when we're on international dating websites. So it's nothing that couldn't have been predicted, Geoffrey. But your history, I don't think any woman would predict it could be so bad. Those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. So guys, tell me what you think. Do you think Geoffrey's right to be utterly incensed? And what do you think that Varya's friends' motives were? Please put your comments down below and I'll answer as many as I can. Please don't forget to hit that red subscribe button if you've yet to do so. When I look at how many views I'm getting for some of my videos and I look at how many subscribers I've got, there's lots and lots of you who've yet to press the button. What are you scared of? Just press. And also don't forget to like and share. I'll be back very soon with this week's reviews. You've been listening to Ebird Online. Ciao for now.